They've indicated they will close their Butler, Pennsylvania, and Zanesville, Ohio electrical and steel operations if the rule is finalized as proposed. Good luck on that. Keep pushing.
You can see we are sitting here at record low SPR levels. What's that number?
Sold, which, so we basically, as you say, have to more than double the size of the electric grid in order to get to the president's goal of 100% clean electricity. We have all sorts of tools that we are working on right now to bust this open. We are moving with alacrity.
Are you confident it will happen this calendar year?
There's, we want to work with your team on it. Let's see.
And that's just one of the many burdens that minority communities face every single day, exacerbated by climate change. Industrial sites or highways where low-income and minority populations more likely reside.
The Energy and Water Development Subcommittee hearing is now open. Welcome, everyone. I want to especially welcome Secretary Jennifer Granholm to the Energy and Water Subcommittee this morning to discuss the fiscal year 2025 budget request for the Department of Energy. Madam Secretary, last year I asked you about the schedule and costs associated with recapitalization of UPF. As you know, the current facilities, Y12, are more than 70 years old, dating back to the Manhattan Project. Respectfully, we still have not seen an updated schedule. 3 questions, if I may. Can you share an updated schedule and cost estimated for UPF? If not, when does the department intend to have a new baseline for UPF? Second question, please. Do you anticipate any scope being taken out of the UPF project as part of the rebaselining? And thirdly, the fiscal 2025 budget includes $800 million for the project. Is the project request, in your view, adequate to ensure the project gets back on track?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, by the way, for the $50 million increase in this particular line in 2024. So the baseline change proposal for the UPF cost is underway. It's nearing completion, but the numbers for the cost and the schedule are not yet finalized. Scope has not been removed from the baseline change proposal. And acknowledging that the Y12 building 9212 is old, but we also want to keep this on track. So we will continue to invest in maintaining the old facilities and pre-producing some weapon components in Y12 to mitigate the risks associated with potential delays to UPF. We want to not have that happen. So we think we're on track, and those estimates will be coming to you soon.
You can see we are sitting here at record low SPR levels in our reserves that we haven't seen since 1983, which is when we were first starting to actually ramp up. So it has been a year since you committed to providing a plan. In this committee hearing, it was 6 months ago that you committed to bringing a plan. I have yet to see a plan to replenish the SPR. This is not a 401k chart. If you saw this and this was your 401k, you would be concerned and you would be acting on it. This is not a brokerage account for the federal treasury. This is, if you want to make a metaphor, it's an insurance policy for the United States. If we are not going to achieve 100% energy independence, we need to at least be in a position where we have a strong SPR, refill our coffers, and for rainy days be able to draw on that. You have sold off, millions of barrels, 150 million barrels at higher price points. In your last testimony, you said you were waiting for the price to come down below $72, and there's been about 4 months where the price of oil has been below $72 since you made that testimony, and we have not been tapping back into that market to replenish the reserve. So I'm not going to ask you what the plan is here because I don't think you're going to be articulated here, but I think you need to deliver to Congress a plan to replenish the SPR. We are dangerously close to not being not only energy independent, but not having a backup plan or a safety net when it comes to some global crisis around oil. In the span of the last year, oil has been as low as $67 and as high as $93. So I would appreciate if you would treat SPR more like an insurance policy that you are trying to just renew and make sure that this country has, and as a whole, it's comprehensive, it's going to protect us, rather than an E-Trade account where you're coming in and out of the markets in order to either make money or prevent the loss of money, or to try to change the price point of a barrel of oil. I'll leave it at that, but I would like to get you on the record to commit to coming back in front of us with the plan to buy back and refill the SPR.
We do have a plan, and the plan is that we were going to cancel the congressionally mandated sales, $140 million worth, 140 million barrels worth, that we were going to begin to repurchase, and we have. We've now repurchased about 30 million barrels back, and that we were going to accelerate exchanges. So by the end of this year, we will be back to essentially where we would have been had we not sold during the invasion of Ukraine and with Putin's
So you're
weaponization.
saying by the end of this year, we will be back up here at
To
this-
where we would have been, because Congress sold or was going to sell 140 million
Right, but
barrels
we
to
did not.
solve budget.
Right.
Because part of our strategy was to come in and cancel those sales. So we
So if
specifically,
you
that
have
was
a,
part
not
of
to
our.
cut you off, but I'm getting short on time. If you have a plan and you're making commitments for the end of the year, what is the number in the SPR that we should expect to see in the end of the year?
It will be what it would have been had
What's-
we had
what's
not
that number?
sold. Which, so we're at 300 and, about 350 million barrels right now, 358, something like that. I have to look at what the exact number
Okay,
would be.
maybe
but-
staff can help you out while we talk to the other question I have around the nuclear energy, if that's okay, or we can get the answer for the record.
But is this all enough? What else must we do, and what are the consequences if we're not going to get there?
Yeah, we basically, as you say, have to more than double the size of the electric grid in order to get to the president's goal of 100% clean electricity. We have to add all that clean power on. But we are also seeing for the first time this increase in demand, which is extremely disconcerting because we had been flat for a good number of years because of the efficiencies and the technologies that have been developed, a large part by the Department of Energy. But this increase is due to some good news, which is the manufacturing facilities that have announced that they are coming to the U.S., but also AI and data centers. And so I think we have to think differently, number one, about how we power those who are coming with increased demands. And so a lot of the tech companies, for example, are willing to have this conversation about if they're building a data center, maybe they bring the clean power along with it, additive power, and not just taking from the existing grid. In addition, the Department of Energy, we have, thanks to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act, about $25 billion in various pockets to address the grid issues. And we have put out now, we're in the second round of funding for our Grid Resilience Innovation Program. We are focused on the, yes, planning, important. Clearly, we have to know where the transmission lines should be going, where the need will be. And so we are in the process in that NITSE corridor, the National Infrastructure Corridor for electricity in the United States. People are able to now, or entities are able to nominate which should be part of the new corridors. That's happening right now. We're taking input on that. And in addition, there's all sorts of technology that we are incentivizing the funding of. For example, reconductoring of wires on the existing grid so that we don't have to wait for years for permitting for new, meaning you can get twice the power across a transmission line by using advanced conductoring materials. And part of that is being, we're asking for funding opportunity announcement for those who want to come and do reconductoring. Grid enhancing technologies, using smart technology to move power when it's absolutely, when it's necessary. That sort of traffic cop for the grid is another way of being more efficient with the existing grid. SciTap is a way for us, that's what you just referenced, is an administrative effort, executive branch effort, to put a 2-year shot clock on permitting for transmission on public lands. And that is something that we're very excited about because currently the transmission timeline for permitting is insanely long, unacceptably long. And so if we can speed up the public lands permitting, that too is very important. In terms of financing, we're grateful that Congress, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, et cetera, and the Inflation Reduction Act gave us the ability to do an innovative financing option to partner with those who want to add more power to the grid, called the Transmission Facilitation Plan. We have all sorts of tools that we are working on right now to bust this open, and we're encouraged by what we're seeing.
So my question, Madam Secretary, are you telling us, are you through this recommendation admitting that the administration is recommending policies that represent de facto breaching of the dams in an effort to would essentially circumvent the congressional authority to make that decision?
No. No, I'm definitely not telling you that. I'm not here telling you that at all. Congress is the only place that has the authority to do the breaching of the dams. I think the agreement was a positive step to replenish salmon, to be able to address hatcheries, to work with the tribes on additional power, yes, but that's not to replace. We need enough power there's not enough power to go around, and we need all the power we can get.
And speaking of nuclear waste, I just want to ask you if you can quickly confirm on the record what the department's fiscal year 25 funding request indicates, that DOE will not seek to license or otherwise force a nuclear waste repository in my home state.
I can confirm.
Thank you.
I echo the concerns my colleagues have shared surrounding this administration's catastrophic decision to delay consideration of new LNG terminals in the U.S. This administration's decision has hampered Louisiana's growth and potential, directly hurting Louisianans. Furthering these restrictions on growth in our energy sector increasingly strains our markets, eliminates Americans' jobs, and threatens our national security. As you may have heard me say in the past, Americans deserve better. Louisianans deserve better. The administration should embrace the opportunity to turn the page on these short-sighted energy policies and begin to empower all types of energy projects instead of picking losers and winners. It's time to get true energy policy on the table. Madam Secretary, I'd like to ask you about the new studies the department will undertake on LNG exports as part of the pause. You've stated it would take months to conduct new studies, but I'm concerned that it may take much longer. I understand that it took 19 months for the DOE to complete the 2015 macroeconomic study, from DOE's first announcement to its publication in the Federal Register. Do you stand by your statements that this will take a few months? And do I have your commitment that the study will be completed and published in the Federal Register this calendar year?
We are moving with alacrity on this because it is important to get answers to these questions. We are engaging our national labs. It will not take as long as the previous studies have taken. The questions that have to be considered are complicated. Since the last study was done, we were only exporting 4 BCF of LNG, and we are now exporting 14 BCF per day, and with another 12 BCF that is under construction, and another 22 BCF that on top of that that's been authorized. So we have 48 BCF that's already been authorized. And the questions that we have to consider are, if we were exporting the level of authorization, what would that do to prices at home? If we were exporting the level of authorization, or even now, how does that impact our allies? How do we make sure that they have the adequate supplies of energy that they need? So these questions come on both sides. What does it do with respect to the life cycle analysis of these terminals and climate change, communities on the ground? All these questions, we've gotten letters from all sides on this issue. So it's important that we do this right, because this will set up the means for us to evaluate authorizations into the future, as we're required to do under the Natural Gas Act, what is in the public interest.
Are you confident it will happen this calendar year?
I'm confident that will happen close to this calendar year. I don't want to put a hard date on it, because I don't want to, I want it to be done right.
Okay.
But it will be done soon.
Sure.
So, this relates to the tax code. I know Treasury's in the driver's seat, but I want to get your perspective on how DOD supporting Treasury to update the rulings and address some of the concerns with the proposal. Can DOE play a larger role to ensure that Treasury understands the potential of their ruling on the growing domestic hydrogen industry?
Thank you, Ranking Member DeLauro. So nice to see you, and thanks for your leadership on this as well. We are very bullish on a clean hydrogen economy. As you know,
right.
we have done these hydrogen hubs. We want them to succeed. We have also, in respect to the proposed rule, the comment period is closed now. We've gotten 30,000 comments on that, and so Treasury is it was very specifically asking for comments on these specific issues that you raise and more. They got those comments, and they're now evaluating them.
I wonder if you've given any thought to ways the department might accelerate the development of transformers, new industrial facilities to build and construct. And I know they're all customized, but if you just could say a word, and I apologize, Mr. Chair, if we could allow her to answer, and I exceeded my time, I apologize for that.
Quite all right.
Okay.
I'll yield.
I'll be quick. We absolutely have given thought to this, have met with industry and all sorts of stakeholders to identify what the roadblocks are. There are three main drivers of the supply chain issues. One is labor availability and training. One is materials, which is access to GOES, as Ms. Capter was referring to, and the other is manufacturing capacity. However, we now have started to see manufacturers expand in the United States to meet that demand. Eaton, a GE affiliate, Siemens have all announced that they are expanding, whether it's distribution transformers or big power transformers. So we're encouraged by that, but more needs to be done clearly, and one would think that the demand out there would create the opportunity for more supply, and we're working with them on that.
Madam Secretary, nuclear energy is carbon-free and can be deployed on a large scale to supply the United States, the world, with clean, reliable electricity. Yet, again, in fiscal '25, the budget cuts nuclear energy, this time by nearly 6%. The largest cuts are to the two ongoing advanced reactor demonstration projects and the National Reactor Innovation Center. But almost every program in the Office of Nuclear Energy is reduced. If you could kindly explain the reasoning for such a large reduction, especially considering the increases to energy efficiency and renewable energy activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to clarify. The funding for the advanced reactor demonstration programs simply was moved to the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, where the big demonstration projects are. It's not a reduction in the effort on that. And the other reduction, as I know you're aware, was to the Clean Power, Carbon-Free Power Project. And so that obviously went by the wayside, and we have rightfully done some good work with what was left of that and repurposed some of that for SMRs. Thank you so much for your leadership on that.
Thank you.
One of the problems of housing deterioration in low-income communities is there aren't the skills to build. And so there are many creative things that can be done. You don't have to provide a long answer to this, but I'm just encouraging you to look cross-agency to make the maximum use of the dollars you have. And with the incentives we have in the energy bill to create off-site power feeds into neighborhoods, you could actually create models around the country of how to reduce energy bills, right, for an entire neighborhood, not just a house. So I'm urging you to think creatively, and I know you have the capacity to do this and your staff does, but I just wanted to mention that as we proceed in this hearing.
I look forward to, you're always so creative and always thinking big picture, and totally appreciate that. I mean, we do work, for example, with the Department of Labor on doing workforce development on battery, for example, battery workforce development initiative. But your point about working more closely in a holistic way on all of these things for low-income folks is a really great point, and point taken.
Thank you.
Want to share any thoughts about the agency's work in terms of cross-cutting programs for aquatic decarbonization?
Well, I do know that there's, we want to work with your team on it. Let's see. I know that we did, oh, right, you guys, we provided a briefing recently to your office, and I know we are going to be getting back to you shortly on some of the questions that you were asking. We are, eager to focus on this, and we're eager to work with you on it, and we appreciate your leadership and your support in the area, and let's see if we can make some momentum here.
Pollutants that cause cancer, respiratory problems, and reproductive health risks, potentially exposing hundreds of families in Miramar. And we've seen, decades later, long before we had the technology to actually know what the dangers of these kinds of facilities were, the cleanup necessary, and the cancer clusters, and all of the lead poisoning, and all of the things that that too many families go through when they are near facilities like this. And that's just one of the many burdens that minority communities face every single day, exacerbated by climate change. Climate change worsens air quality, and it can be disproportionately affect communities near industrial sites or highways where low-income and minority populations more likely reside. You have scorching temperatures that we see now from climate change that can exacerbate health issues, heat-related illnesses, and those disproportionately affect vulnerable communities. So can you talk about this new extreme heat program that President Biden proposed, and how will our local communities benefit from it? Long preamble, short question.
Really important, really important. And there are other ways than, I assume these burn facilities relate to municipal solid waste?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways to deal with, including, sustainable aviation fuel, et cetera, to deal with
Yes.
municipal solid waste. However, but the extreme heat proposal, 70 million of that will go through our Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, and really that's going to be focused on solutions that are community-driven. So 70 million is there, and 30 million is with our state and community energy programs to be able to build a solution with community about what works, borrowing from best practices. For example, it might be district cooling. It might be community adaptation to reduced heat islands, et cetera, resilience approaches, greening the area. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that other nations and other cities have taken this on. So we're excited to be able to do that, especially as climate change progresses and things get hotter and hotter.
And with that, the subcommittee stands adjourned.